Welcome to the DSPN.
John Walker wins the 1500 metres gold medal at the Olympic Games.
The All Blacks have won by 29 points to 9.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Righto, Sportos, here goes for the final time in 2024. Martin, Devlin, Lachlan Waugh, the DSPN. Now, we're taking a break for a couple of weeks. We've still got some interviews, what we call in the can, and they're going to be put out on the DSPN YouTube channel over the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much for your support and attendance so far. If you like what you're listening to and what you've been watching, then a small request, again, this side of the microphone. I hope you're not getting sick of me asking, but I certainly don't get sick of you clicking. Like, share, subscribe, send us a comment, and particularly hit that subscribe button on the DSPN YouTube channel. It really does help. And if you know anyone that would like to financially support us, we are looking for sponsors in 2025. You can DM us right across social media, _DSPN, and that's both Instagram and TikTok. We're all over Twitter as well. Today, special guests on the show. We're going to talk in the fight game. Smitty Smith out of Vegas. Usyk versus Fury number 2 this weekend. Dean Lonergan with his thoughts as well. And what's going to happen with the Warriors next year, as well as that. The biggest sports story of the day, got to be Liam Lawson. Gets his ride, gets his drive. Eric Thompson, the foremost motorsport correspondent in this country, joining us to talk about that. We're going to wrap it all up with a big round of what is more chance of happening. And we begin the show the same way every single podcast, which is a sermon.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Deck the sports with boughs of holly. Time to wrap up the year with a Christmas wish list for 2025. But before we do, an acknowledgement of all the excellence and amazement that we have witnessed this one. In no particular order, the Blues, Vern Cotter, Lulu's son, the All Blacks winning that test match in Dublin. Black Cap Series win in India, Lydia Ko, Liam Lawson, Elise Andrews, Finn Butcher, Hamish Kerr, Lisa Carrington. White Ferns World Cup win, Wellington Phoenix, Steve Alker, Black Ferns Olympics. Look, I can't mention them all. I know I've missed out more than a few, and I apologise wholeheartedly to every person and team that I have. Sport, let's never forget, is fun. Well, it's meant to be, isn't it? It's entertainment for first and foremost. It thrills us, excites us, stimulates, captivates, aggravates, sparks debate, and all of that is brilliant, mate. But most important of all for me, it brings us together. It is and always has been the best and most effective common denominator. And look, I know sport and politics have always intertwined, whether any of us like it or not, but next year, I do hope we see an end to rugby especially being politically weaponised. All I'm saying, I guess, is that for mine, David Seymour has as much right to be an All Blacks fan as TJ Perenara does. I like both men. And Seymour, for me, like me and you, has as much right to support the Hurricanes as the Poa players themselves. You see where I'm going with this? As much respect as I have for everyone being allowed to have their own political views, and also for what it's worth, I do respect those political views. I also think what's more important is these sports and these teams being the one place where we can all put down our differences for the duration. And as airy-fairy as that might sound, sport for me remains the one place where, regardless of ethnicity, colour, creed, chosen sexuality, whatever, we are actually all the same when we sit in those seats to watch. Isn't that how it's meant to be? We're just fans. We're just a big bunch of people united in one common cause to shout and scream and yell and cheer and love and hate and win, lose, whatever. I hope we never forget the power that sport has to unite, not divide. And those in the most privileged of playing positions, remember that to be a fan is everyone's right. That's all I wish for. Merry Christmas, everyone. 2024, what a ride. Have a safe and happy new year, and see you all back here on the DSPN in 2025. Thank you.
Devlin.
Delightful to have this man with us, the foremost motorsport writer in this country, has been for decades. He's a great mate, friend of the show, and what a day to welcome Eric Thompson onto the DSPN. As Liam Lawson officially gets named alongside Max Verstappen to drive for Red Bull next year. Eric, welcome, mate.
Yeah, cheers, Marty. Always good, mate. Good to see you. Good to chat. Good to catch up.
Great news. Look, it's not entirely unexpected. I think most of us did think that this was going to happen, but wow, what a Christmas present for that young man and his family.
Well, it certainly is after, God knows, well, he's said since he was about 7 or 8. I mean, I think you're right, Marty. He was always going to get a seat. I think it just depended on whether it was going to stay at VCARB, you know, they call it the junior team, but or whether it was going to be, with Max Verstappen. So, and they've decided that he's going to be alongside Max Verstappen, which will be an interesting challenge, shall we say?
Look, you've been watching him, as we all have, since he got the ride in the last few GPs and that. What did you see the way that he's racing that gives you an indication for what potentially he could achieve next year?
He's not scared of anybody. I mean, to actually go nose to nose with Fernando Alonso and also with Perez and everybody else, he just doesn't, he's there to race. He said, I'm there
Fearless,
to win.
Yeah.
That really appeals to like Helmut Marko and Christian Horner, although they probably wouldn't publicly say that, stick it to your teammate. They quite like that idea. He's, and he doesn't crash the car. There was no big bill. I mean, that was Franco Colapino, the young Argentinian driver who is wickedly fast. But, he had 4 races in a row where he wrote the Paul Williams car off. So, safe pair of hands. He's been part of the Red Bull family for years and years, Marty.
Yeah, that's
so
a good
they've had a
point.
really good opportunity to look at him. He's done a heap of work behind the scenes on the simulator and help develop the car. And he seems to get on well with Max. And, I know a lot of people think it would be funny, but, Max's dad, Jos Verstappen, is a bit of a cranky character, shall we say. And he's caused a bit of upset with being quite vocal. He likes Liam Lawson. So, it's like I reckon the season will start happy families, which is always good.
Yeah, no, and we all wish him well. We all want to see him overachieve in this, and he wants to be an F1 world champion. I'm not sure, and I don't want to be the downpress here, that he's going to achieve that alongside Max Verstappen. Maybe if Verstappen leaves, he gets to be the number 1 guy. But being the number 2 guy behind a guy who's just won 4 world championships in a row, who does get to dictate, he gets the fastest car, he gets all the best treatment. Is that a fair way of looking at this at the moment, that Liam's going to still have to be a little patient here?
Absolutely, Marty. I think that's actually, quite an astute observation, actually. But Red Bull, Lawson's only 22. So they're looking to him for the future. Max's contract runs out in 2028, I think, from memory. But he's said if he gets like more restrictions about having to do community service because he swore, and all this other borderline woke PC stuff that's coming into Formula One, Max Verstappen will leave. What's he got to prove? He's a 4-time world champion.
Yeah, but that's right. Eventually, and look, every chance that he wins another one at least before 2028, right?
And also that Red Bull car in its current guise has been bespoke built for him. And he likes his cars set up quite a bit different to just about everybody else. So Lawson's going to have to adapt to that. But on top of it, new regulations are coming in 2026, new engines in 2026. Cars will have less downforce. So as they mentor Lawson and this whole bunch of young guys into it, Max may possibly struggle a little bit when the new car comes in. So next year will be a learning curve. And if he can stay within touching distance of Verstappen, Lawson will really set himself up for a long-term gig at Red Bull, because it'll all change, after next season. And I reckon Red Bull are investing in the future, as they normally do.
So, the next few weeks, and as, we build into 2025 and then, anticipate the season there, there's going to be a lot of hype and also hoopla around this part of the world about him. Realistically, though, achievement-wise next year, for me, look, if he can get on the podium, and it doesn't have to happen every single race, but if he can get on the podium once, twice, maybe 3 times, I think that would be the biggest tick. I'm not sure that he's going to win an F1 race next year. Obviously, we'd love to see that happen. But, with a team like this and with a driver like Verstappen, as I said, every resource is going to be on him. And ultimately, you have to accept the fact that, you're playing doubles with Novak. And if Novak gets to serve first, right? That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Liam's already demonstrated he has a lot of patience.
That working behind the scenes thing you were talking about being a team player, just as an aside, that must be a huge tick in his book as well.
Oh, good Lord, yes. And that's why he would have got to be Max's teammate. And he wants to learn off Max. He's publicly said he's there to learn from a 4-time world champion. So he's not trying to go in there with a whole lot of bravado about, I'm going to get one right up Max. And I'm going to get, that doesn't do yourself any favors at all. He's only got 11 Grand Prix. He's shown he's quick, he's consistent. As like I said, he keeps the car clean and straight. But he will be there to learn, and he's quite keen to say that he's there to learn, which is really, really important. And he will be a really good wingman for Max in 2025. I mean, if you think about, I think there was the points gap between Perez and Verstappen was more than the total of all the points of all the other teams' drivers. So their goal for 200.
That's a stat right there.
200 something points was more than every other team's drivers. So, and like Red Bull finished third, Constructors' Championship, millions of dollars and euros, US dollars. They lost in that. So they'll be looking for Lawson to be either, like you rightly said, Marty, get on the podium a couple of times or be there and thereabouts, but to be close to Verstappen, like 4 or 5 places behind, maybe pick up the odd, higher place finish. You never know with weather and grid penalties, like it's a long season. But if he can stay close and pick up manufacturers' points, that will be his job for next year.
Let's leave it on this. And as I said, you've been around riding motorsport for decades, mate. And I don't know when we've been in a better position in this country with motorsport since the 1960s, perhaps, when obviously, our guys were winning F1 races and things. But you're talking about a driver now in F1. You've got the two Scots and the Giz, NASCAR and also Indy cars. You've got Matty Payne and other drivers coming through supercars. And these are the biggest motorsport events that most of us follow, let alone your Courtney Duncans and everyone else doing everything else. It's extraordinary, isn't it, for a country this size? And I know that, we talk about this a lot, but just to have an F1 driver now amongst everything else that's going on. What a way to end the year if you love your motorsport in New Zealand.
It's funny you say it, Marty. I'm trying to look forward to putting a piece together for the paper and I was looking at just 2024 and the list of people who achieved, and you've got Brendan Hartley winning World Endurance Championships, Earl Bamber winning IMSA races in the States, and you've got the young guys, Louis Sharp winning GBF3. It's just absolutely incredible. Oh, and Hayden Patton, the only guy to defend a European Rallying Championship. He's still winning races. Yeah. And it's just, it is absolutely incredible. We just really need to get somebody back into two wheels, my personal passion.
There you go. There you go.
If we get somebody into MotoGP, we will own motorsport, Marty. We will own it.
Yeah, that is lighting the candle on top of the icing on the cake. My friend, it is always a pleasure to have you on the program. Love you to bits, mate. Thank you so much. Have a super safe new year and everything. We'll see you next.
So, same to you and Lachlan, mate. It's an absolute pleasure, and it's been a hell of a ride, Marty, and I look forward to catching up next year.
Rugby League, mate. Merry Christmas and safe and happy best wishes to all. This is the last show for 2025. And for the first time on the DSPN podcast, we welcome back a great old mate. Look, for us in my generation, he's a legendary former Kiwi player. And I suppose your young folk will know him more for the entertainment that he has brought to New Zealand as a promoter, and especially promoting some of our best, finest, most successful boxers, both here and in Australia. It's a big, long-winded welcome to Dean Lonergan. Awesome, mate.
Martin, Devlin, how are you? Nice to see you back with the big boys.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that very much. Obviously, you've got so much happening in the fighting world at the moment. Nekia gets a fight. You've got this big Usyk versus Fury contest on the weekend. Miyamoto, you had a lot to do with as well. JP, Joseph Parker, gets a heavyweight bout. A lot going to happen in 2025, mate.
It's really exciting. Obviously, the biggest fight probably of the year is coming up in 3 or 4 more days when Tyson Fury takes on Oleksandr Usyk. And they are by far, I don't know if you've seen much, a lot of people have seen lots of Tyson Fury in social media, and he's such a character. But Oleksandr Usyk in his own way is an equally endearing character. He's funny, he's humorous. He dances up a storm on a regular basis. His understanding, the way he delivers his English is quite amusing. So I got to be honest, I'd love to see that fight come to a draw, to be honest, because I think both of them are engaging, entertaining athletes, and I don't particularly want to see one side win because I like them both.
All right, as far as the others go, Joseph gets a chance to get back in the ring and fight for a heavyweight shot. I love the story, man. I mean, I've got so much time for this guy. A couple of years ago after Joyce, he looked burnt, didn't he? And yet he's got that new nutritionist on board. He looks a lot fitter. He looks a lot faster. And to get back and have another crack at it, Dean, that's awesome.
The Dubois fight is the perfect fight for Joe, and I think it's a fight that he wins. Dubois has shown huge improvement over the last sort of 2 or 3 years. He got in the ring with a guy a few years back called Kevin Lorena, who was a blown-up cruiserweight, and I thought turned it up and got lucky towards the end of the fight. But, mate, he's obviously improved a lot. He knocked out Anthony Joshua in 5 rounds, but this is a fight that Joseph Parker not only should win, but will win. And we'll see him back in his rightful place as heavyweight champ of the world for the IBF.
As far as Nikia goes, it's only 3 weeks away. How much of a risk is this fight for him?
Mate, it's a massive risk. Let me, rather than giving an opinion, let me put this into context for you. I promoted Jaya Vataya to his world title fight, and he fought a guy called Maris Breedis in the same venue he's fighting in now about 1.5 years ago. In round 2, Maris Breedis broke Jaya Vataya's jaw on one side.
That's right, I remember this.
In round 10, he broke his jaw on the other side. Now, for 2 rounds, Jaya Vataya, his jaw was flopping in the breeze, broken on both sides, and he was still walking forward trying to knock out Maris Breedis and taking shots to that jaw. It was the maddest, bravest thing I've seen in my entire life. Jaya Vataya's had 27 fights. He was the youngest ever athlete to go to the Olympic boxing. He was only 16 years of age when he went to the Olympics as a boxer. He's also, I'm pretty sure he won a world amateur title. He's now had 27 fights. He's fought some of the best guys in the world, and he is by far and away the best, probably the second best southpaw boxer in the world right now behind Oleksandr Usyk. David Naika, he's 10 fights into his pro career. He's only, the biggest distance I think he's gone is only 6 rounds. I think this is a hugely difficult fight for Naika, and if he can pull this off, it'll be nothing short of a miracle. But if I would suggest the betting odds are about 99-1 in Jai's favour, because you've got a guy who's absolutely in his prime. He's tough as all hell. He won't take a backward step. If he has to go 12 rounds, you go 12 rounds. He can take as much punishment as you can dish up to him. And but then again, I'll guarantee you this: Naika's getting paid a lot of money. His trainer and manager, and also future father-in-law potentially, is a guy called Noel Thornberry. And Noel's a superb trainer and a superb negotiator. So expect that the money on the table is the main reason this is happening for Nika. But it makes a lot of sense too. Jai was down to fight as mandatory, some Hungarian guy that no one can pronounce his name and no one knows who he is. He got an injury, and Naika living on, in Queensland. And as a Kiwi, I'm sure there were a lot of Kiwis who go to this fight. So he got the call up. So, but I do not expect that David Naika win. And if he does, it will be nothing short of a miracle.
And finally, not finally, but Miyamoto, you've had a lot to do with as well. Just an extraordinary year for her. Tough as old boots, isn't
Mate,
she?
She's an extraordinary human being.
Yeah,
like
great story. Eh?
I think she should be and is one of the greatest advocates for the prevention of domestic violence in this country. Her story's been well told, and she articulates it well, and she communicates incredibly well. Mia's got a very, very tough fight. She's a stand-up fighter. She likes to engage. She's up against a woman called Eleni Scotney. Scotney's a technical fighter, so I don't know that it's a great. Fight for her. The opportunity's amazing, but it's going to take a special effort from Mia, and she's more than capable of it. But it's a really tough fight, because there's an old adage in boxing: styles make fights. And as a result of the style that Eleni Scotney brings to the table, it's just a really tough fight for Mia.
I love talking the fight game with you, mate. I mean, God, you've got so much knowledge, so much experience. Also, league, obviously. And, I'm still disappointed in that Warriors season. 9 wins and 1 draw after a 16-win season the previous year. I know, look, we've got a million reasons as to why, but, the currency of this team, to me, always has to be measured in wins and losses. It's not measured in how many people turn up or how many bars you open or how many jerseys you sell. That is all very worthy, and it's obviously a huge part of the club. But ultimately, Dean, it comes down to making that 8, doesn't it? And so you look at that squad for next year. We've got a fantastic coach, a couple of extra players brought in, but a lot of questions, and a league that continues to improve. Because if you look at the NRL this year, mate, I mean, it just gets, I know it's a cliche, bigger, faster, stronger. Every team wants to make that 8. There's 4 or 5 that miss out from the previous year. There's 4 or 5 that have obviously retooled their squads as well. So, it's no guarantee at all, is it, for the Warriors next year?
No, there's no guarantee. But I think while they've lost one of the best players in the league, in Adam Fanua-Blake, on the field, he's nothing short of a phenomenon. He goes forward at a furious rate of knots and makes more contact meters than anyone else in the game.
Yeah,
we have picked up James Fisher-Harris. Now, one thing I can guarantee you is that whatever we might have lost a little bit on the field, you've gained a whole lot off the field with Fisher-Harris, because he is truly a proud Kiwi. I've been told that one of the main reasons he has come home to the Warriors is obviously re-engage with New Zealand, but he feels that every week that he turns up, he's playing for New Zealand. And I think that sort of ethos is going to seep deep into this team.
I hope so.
People talk about the horrible season the Warriors had this year. If you really go and have a look closely at the stats, we lost 6 or 7 games by no more than 2 or 3 points, right?
Yeah, one score, yeah.
The difference between making the 8 and not was our lack of a consistently good kicker. Now, the second we lost Sean Johnson, we lost our best kicker by a million miles. But also, in my opinion, we should have dropped Sean a lot earlier in the piece. And the reason is really simple, is that, I felt Sean didn't have anywhere near the season last year that he had the season before when he was probably the player of the year.
You're right.
He couldn't pull the trigger anymore, and you had a whole lot of young blokes sitting around waiting for Sean to do something when he was on the field. And when he was off the field, those young fellas stepped up. And if you have a look at the game, particularly against Penrith, where we were depleted, the young team on the field, and we won the game, I think, by about 8 points. So I think, you can never be critical of Webster because he's done an incredible job, but I think he stayed too loyal to Sean last year, and he should have dropped him a lot earlier. Or, Sean was out with injuries, but he should have dropped him and put the young fellas in, because that would have paid a lot of dividends this year. But
right,
what I can
and
tell
next
you is
year,
this.
right.
This year coming up, my personal opinion is that the Warriors, they're definitely top 8 contenders in the upcoming season. I think you're going to see a lot of young fellas coming through. I think the addition of Fisher Harris is brilliant because it's going to bring a whole lot of off-field culture that perhaps they didn't particularly have with Haddon Blake. I think, and where you're going to see the real benefits of the investment that they've been making heavily into the younger ranks, it won't be next year because our guys are still going to be learning and feeling their way. It'll be the year after. And you'll start to see more and more young fellas coming through who are Kiwis, who are in the system early, and we're going to see a real development program. So don't get too concerned. I think they'll play entertaining footy along the way, and I think next year will be good, but the year after will be sensational.
As far as the Kiwis go, to wrap it up with, mate, I mean, your old mate Stacey's in charge now. I mean, it's always frustrating, isn't it, that we don't get enough games, or that, that the International Rugby League, whoever they are, just don't seem to have a handle on making that side of the sport as big as what it should be. Because every time that white V gets pulled on, mate, I mean, I love that team as much as I love every New Zealand sports team.
Got nothing to do with the International League or their desires. It's got everything to do with the NRL. The NRL has become so overwhelmingly big and is a behemoth that just keeps growing from a revenue point of view. Clubs don't want to put their players at risk in the international window, and players to a large degree, why would you go and play for and there's a greater deal of pride, and they want to play for their country, and all the guys are keen to do so. But if you're a Sydney club and you're playing a guy $1 million a year, why would you let him go and play for New Zealand?
Plus what he's going to earn for
game?
Origin as well. I mean, that's a huge extra carrot, isn't it?
So yeah, and so I think, mate, the international game has its problems, but I think the NRL, obviously that comes first at all times. I think what we should be doing is looking at this and celebrating the rise of Tonga. Like, how good is it when the Tongans play that this sea of red turns up? I think there's only something like 200 or 160,000 Tongans in the world.
It's
maybe
crazy.
200,000.
Look, they all turn up to watch that, mate, isn't it?
When you get 20,000 turned up, that's 10% of the Tongan population of the world turning up.
Brilliant.
And what's remarkable is when you have a look at the Pacific Islands and how they're dominating the contact sports of the world, and this extends as far as the NFL as well.
I agree.
I think Polynesia, and particularly American Samoa, is overrepresented 100-1 in Polynesians of ethnicities on the planet, right? For their size. And you've got this amazing sort of set of genetics going on. And mate, we are the epicenter of the world right here in terms of the Polynesian population, because they all immigrated here in the 60s and 70s. We've got the biggest populations of Polynesians in the world between Wellington and Auckland. Yeah. It's just this amazing resource of talent. And
worth celebrating.
The Warriors' investment into the junior ranks and keep these boys at home and put them, but you've got to 100% get them into the systems early. The second you get into the systems early, they produce super athletes. So, mate, I'm excited for the future of both New Zealand Rugby League and the Warriors. And you have to think about this, Martin Devlin. Go back to 1980. There were 3 players in the NRL competition, the Sorensen brothers and I think Olsen Filipana.
That would have been right.
Fast forward to today, there's 168 plus and growing of Kiwi descent. So at some stage, you will see the Kiwis get to a point where they should start to dominate. The one thing I do like is you've got a lot of those Polynesian players, instead of opting to play for New Zealand or Australia, they're opting to play for Samoa and Tonga and go back to their, where they come
Familial
from,
roots, yeah.
or at least their ethnic roots.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful for the game, and I think that's where you're going to get the great growth. Is in New Zealand and Australia, where their peoples are coming out to support their teams because, mate, they're just superb athletes.
All the very best for you for 2025, mate. It's always great to catch up, and we look forward to having you on the program a lot next year. Merry Christmas.
Well, this is my first time here, Devlin. The only time I got on is to see your text.
Well, just take it as a present. Take it as a present, mate. Take it as maybe Santa gave you something, mate.
How much are you paying me, Devlin? Nothing. And don't worry about the old get on the phone and have a chat. Now I've got to set my bloody phone up. You get to look at me rough dial. You come on before you start. You're swearing, you're carrying on.
Lachlan, get him, mate.
DSPN.
For the final time in 2024, we're playing your favourite game, Lachlan, which is called...
Glass half full.
No.
What has more chance of happening?
Let's look forward to 2025. I'll give you a couple of options and you tell me out of the two, what is more chance of happening?
Yes!
The single biggest sporting fixture for any New Zealand sports fan and team next year has got to be the Springboks coming to Eden Park. That unbeaten record on the line. A kind of de facto world championship. So let's start there. What is more chance of happening? The Saffers finally break the hoodoo and beat the All Blacks at Eden Park, or Liam Lawson wins an F1 GP next year? What is more chance of happening?
Well, I don't think the South Africans will beat us at Eden Park. I think that is a game that the All Blacks will circle on the calendar more so than... Are we playing them in Wellington? Or
Wellington, yeah.
So they'd happily drop that Wellington fixture if it means that they can win the Eden Park one. But the Red Bull cars, my guess, because of the cyclical nature of Formula One...
No, they're going to be exactly the same car and exactly the same resources are going to be put into both cars.
No, of course not. But I think as a team, Red Bull probably won't be as quick as they were this year, but that's a guess. And Liam Lawson obviously won't be given any opportunity to match Verstappen and what he achieves in his car. But I would think that there is more chance that Liam Lawson wins a GP.
Oh, okay.
Which,
what is more chance of happening?
Maybe not.
The Saffers win at Eden Park, or we beat them twice. The All Blacks
beat them twice.
We beat them twice.
That's got more chance of happening than us losing at Eden Park, I think.
You just don't think...
I tell you what...
Look, if as much as we're circling that game, they're targeting that game as well,
I wish we were playing glass half full. I seriously am all up on the All Blacks. I really am. I think we've unearthed some brilliant players this year. I think Razor's getting his fingerprints on this team. We should have won that. I think if that French test goes out, if we'd
won in France and Joburg, we'd be sitting here going, that's a hell of a year.
This is the thing, we should have. I'm a big believer
here we go.
Well, did you win?
Let's talk should have, shall we? Because that's what sport's all about. What is more chance of happening? The All Blacks beat the South Africans twice, Wellington and Eden Park, or the Warriors make the top...
Stop talking about the Warriors. I am not interested in the Warriors. Jeez, there's this love affair with the Warriors.
Yeah, they're a team, mate.
It's like you're at a nude beach just staring at, it's someone in a Warriors jumper just having your... Stop it. Stop talking about the Warriors. This is a team that the worst thing that happens to this club is the fact that they are the only team in Auckland, not just Auckland, the only team in New Zealand. No one criticises them enough.
No, they don't. I agree with that.
Can I just say, so Sean Johnson debuted, I think, in 2011, right? They got to the grand final that year. Well done. And Sean had a very good sort of early spurt in the NRL.
Yep.
2012, they missed the finals. 2013, they missed the finals. 2014, they missed the finals. 2015, they missed the finals. 16, 17, missed the finals. 18, they finished 8th, lost in the first week.
Yes.
19th, Sean's gone.
No, didn't lose in the first week. Got absolutely towed.
Well, not towed, but lost to Penrith. Didn't get towed, but lost to Penrith. 19, 20, 21, 22...
COVID.
Missed the finals, and in 22 COVID. Sean comes back.
All to do with
23, well done. Good year, made the top four.
His best year.
And then 24, what happened? 9 wins.
See, this is the falsehood around Sean Johnson. I like Sean Johnson. I like him as a person. I like watching him as a player. But the reality of it is, he wasn't a spectacular success on the rugby league field. Here in New Zealand, we all love him because he was ours and everything else. But you can't rate Sean Johnson in the top 10 halfbacks that have ever played in the NRL. You can't. That's a joke if you even suggest that.
But I don't think someone who's doing that is someone who really only watches the Warriors and follows the Warriors. And it'd be like,
he's a good player, not a great player.
It'd be like me saying Justin Hodges is one of the 5 greatest centres of all time.
Please.
No, he was a good player, but he's not. Nothing against Sean. Sean for me is like Anthony Milford, what he was for the Broncos. Now Milford was a great player, but he wasn't the captain of the ship.
Okay, well, what is more chance of happening? Warriors make the
You're
8.
getting off track here, aren't we?
Or the or the All Blacks beat the South Africans twice.
Oh, All Blacks. I mean, you could say South Africans beat the All Blacks twice. I'd say that's got more chance of happening than the Warriors making
What
the
is more chance of happening? The Warriors make the 8. The Warriors make the 8, and I'm not even saying win it because the Warriors are not going to win it, okay? Let's be honest about this right now, people. Okay, the Warriors are not winning the premiership, okay?
Who's saying that? I can't handle this. Who's saying they're winning the premiership?
The guy who put the presents in your stocking is not called Santa, all right? I hate to bust this to you at this stage and age of life. All right, the Warriors make the 8.
It's not happening.
Or Auckland FC win the A-League.
Auckland FC win the A-League. Absolutely.
More chance happening. But you're that guy that always says, oh, that's only one win. Okay, well, how about what is more chance of happening? Auckland FC win the A-League or the Phoenix win the A-League? What is more?
Auckland FC win the A-League.
Phoenix were a game away from making it last year, mate. Yeah, but
Okay,
the table,
what-
the table is only 7 or 8 games old. There's 27 games in this season.
Well, how else do we judge this season? The table's the way we judge it.
The Auckland team hasn't lost yet.
They haven't lost yet. And I tell you what, they showed a bit of character. Granted, they were helped by a goalkeeping mistake, but they made
but they had a goalkeeping howl of
mistake
themselves.
themselves.
Okay, yeah.
But a fair bit of character to get a 2-2 draw away. Was
Yep.
it Victory or Melbourne City?
City.
Melbourne City. Pretty good effort to do that. They haven't lost yet. They've conceded a couple of goals in the last few games, but they've beaten the Phoenix twice as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Twice. And they've been the better team in both
Hasn't
those
that been one of the
fixtures.
greatest things in New Zealand sport this year, that rivalry, which has just emerged, hasn't it? And is now one of the New Zealand sporting rivalries. Rugby, you cocked this up. Rugby, you cocked this up. Rugby had Auckland versus Wellington, Auckland versus Waikato, Auckland versus Canterbury, Canterbury versus Wellington. It's so many rivalries in NPC rugby, and you cocked this up, Rugby.
Well, it was
up.
cocked up 20 years ago.
What is more chance of happening? The Black Caps changed their team selection policy so that senior players no longer pick themselves, or the Warriors make the 8. Here it comes.
Well, no.
Here it comes.
No, you're tripping over yourself
No.
here because because you're talking about the Black Caps being picked by the senior players. What senior player? Because you're implying that there's players being picked that shouldn't be in the team, right? Tim Southey, for example, recently. Let me continue. Tim Southey's retiring now. Neil Wagner's already gone.
Yep.
Trent Bolt's gone, pretty much. What player in that Black Caps team now? Form, I'm not dumb. Form for a couple of them hasn't been great, but if we're talking talent,
Okay, it's not the name of the game.
talking
The
talent,
name of the game is what is more chance of happening. Gary Stead selects the Black Caps or the Warriors make the 8. Say it.
Gary Stead selects the Black
He
Caps.
doesn't select the Black Caps.
He's
you
the
know
coach.
that.
He's the coach and he's one of the selectors.
Mate, he's the coach. He puts the bags on the coach. And no disrespect to Gary. I like Gary, but he doesn't select the Black Caps. Say it out loud.
His title is coach and
Say
he's a selector.
it out loud.
No.
Say the words.
No. There's more chance that Gary Stead picks this Black Caps team in the near future than the Warriors make the top 8.
What is more chance of happening? The Breakers make the playoffs or the Warriors make the 8?
Breakers make the playoffs.
See, you just see
Breakers make the. To be fair, look at the table. What are they? 7-7. They're not too
7
far
and 8.
off the top 6. They started well. They're going through a blip, sure, but
The Warriors have retooled our squad.
the Breakers
mate.
made
We've got Nathan
the
Fisher-Harrigan.
made the top 6 and then won their first finals game, which was like a play-in game, like what they do in the NBA, with a record under 500 last season. I'm pretty sure. So they can lose more than they win and still get into that play-in, right?
What is more chance of happening then? The Warriors make the 8 or Liverpool win the treble?
Liverpool win the treble.
No, see, that's not going to. That's not going to happen.
Why not? We're top of the Champions League. We're far and away the best team in the Champions League. We
Yeah,
are top
true.
of the Premier League,
Yeah,
and
true.
assuming we beat
Yeah,
Everton
true.
in the make-up fixture, we're 5 points ahead of
Okay,
Chelsea.
look, I got. I'm just.
And
I'm
we're
gonna,
in the League Cup semi-finals.
I'm going to manipulate this
We're in
now.
the League Cup
What is more
semi-finals.
chance of happening? Man United make the Champions League,
Man
or the
United
Warriors make the
Man
8?
United make the Champions
No,
League.
we're not.
You're not that far off. Look at the table.
We're nowhere
Look at
near,
the points
mate.
table.
Our squad
You're
is
actually not far off.
rubbish,
and
mate. We've just been dicked today by Tottenham.
You beat Man City.
Oh,
all right,
please.
good result.
Please.
Put 4 past Everton, who are not that good. But you're not points-wise. You're not far, mate. You're not far. And you'll be the first to admit, new manager syndrome.
I'm going to get you to say this.
New manager
What is
syndrome.
more chance of happening? Manchester City win the Premier League, or the Warriors make the 8?
I think, given the fact that they can go on these runs of 10 or more wins in a row.
Just say it one time.
That Man City.
Say it one time.
No, I won't say it. Okay.
Say it.
Okay. This is what I'll say. And if you're a Warriors diehard, like you're an emotional diehard, the way that I feel about my Broncos team, turn this off now. You're not going to like this.
Here we go.
I do not like the Warriors at all. I don't like them. I've never liked the Warriors.
Where does this come from?
It comes. There's two things. One of them is the fact that I supported the Broncos since 07, 08, around there, and I just liked the idea of not supporting a New Zealand team, which sounds terrible. I know. I love New Zealand, but I just liked the idea of not supporting the Warriors. Also, I was told that they were rubbish, but at the time, that was when Ivan Cleary was the coach, and they had these 4 or 5 finals appearances in about 6 years. The second reason is, and I've told this story, you know the story, the first ever NRL game I went to. The first ever NRL game I went to. I was 12 years old, so I wasn't too young. You know, I had a little bit of dirt growing on my top lip.
Guy yelled at him.
But I was at a Warriors game, Warriors Broncos. Warriors killed us. It was 36-4, but I remember they missed a ton of conversions. It should have been 50-4. And the Broncos got a try, video ref, the clear grounding, and I jump up, I go, it's a try, ref.
It's a try.
These Warriors fans around me, with a lot of F words and C words, told me to essentially sit down and shut up. I was a bit scared for my well-being at that point.
2 to go. What is more chance of
Warriors.
happening? The Kansas City Chiefs go back to back and win 3 Super Bowls in a row. First time it's ever happened. Or the Warriors make the 8.
I tell you what, if Mahomes is healthy,
there's every chance,
because there's a question mark around that. Tell me a team who you not rely on, that's not the right word. Tell me a team who you're willing to put your money on more so than the Chiefs in the NFL right now.
Absolutely right. Final one then. What is more chance of happening? The White Ferns beat Australia.
World champion White Ferns.
In both the remaining
World
ODI
champion.
matches. The White Ferns win both the remaining ODI matches against Australia, or the Warriors make the 8.
The thing I love about this White Ferns team is it's now filled with a bunch of World Cup winners.
Oh, here we go.
People who know how to win the tough matches. And I think there's a great chance that they win these next 2 matches against Australia. Hey, look, Australia, it's a myth. Australian cricket, it's a myth. It's a myth.
The Warriors are making the 8, people.
No, they're not.
That's my Christmas little stocking filler present for you. They are making the 8.
So your stocking filler is
Guarantee
coal.
it.
It's coal, isn't
Guaranteed.
it? Jeez. So you're delivering to the naughty list people.
Happy New Year. It's time. We're talking heavyweight boxing. Usyk versus Fury number 2. And who better to get on than inthiscornertv.com's the brilliant host of the International Boxing Hall of Fame, a man who has spent his whole life just embroiled in the sweet science and a personal friend of one Muhammad Ali when he was a little boy. James Smitty Smith.
I like that. Very good pipes there. Good stuff.
You look fantastic. This is in the studio, mate. Look at you. You're blinged up. Your suit looks great.
Yeah, I'm here at Hilton, our Cancun resort here on the Strip in Las Vegas. Just delivered a speech, signed a few autographs, took a few pictures, got Hilton a few more people to go along with our 800,000 owners. In fact, I think that's what you need, is to become an owner of Hilton Grand Vacation, because you will vacation more, you will vacation better, you'll save a lot of damn money, and you'll realize all of your dream vacations. How's that?
I like it. I like it a lot. James, who wins this fight and why?
Well, we did a panel show the other day, and I picked the same guy that I picked the first time they met about 7 months ago. It's great that we're getting this fight 7 months later and not 7 years later. And I'm going to go with the same fella, the better fighter of the two, the better boxer of the two, the guy who has his head together more of the two, and that's Oleksandr Usyk. I just think he is the better craftsman inside the squared circle. I think that his movements will, continue to frustrate Fury, and his in-ring guile is off the charts. Other than Bud Crawford or somebody, maybe a few others, he's the best in the business. And so I like Usyk to win. I think decision, stoppage late wouldn't shock me, because he almost stopped him the first time. But I like Usyk to win.
Yeah, when Fury was at his absolute best, he looked unbeatable, didn't he? And part of that was just the awkwardness that he brings. He's so lanky, his arms, his reach and everything else. And who can forget that incredible moment where he looked out cold against Wilder, then he bounced up again, and he, that durability. But having said all that, is that a little long in the tooth now? Because all of that was a few years ago.
Well, the other guy, Usyk's a little older than him, but
Okay.
I think with the lifestyle outside the ring, you bring up a great point. The fact that Usyk lives a pristine lifestyle from one of my friends, Egis Klimas is his manager, and he lives that lifestyle like a fighter should outside the ring. Fury, we remember some years ago, went up to over 400 pounds and had the drug and alcohol and mental issues. I just think that he's gone to the other side. Usyk, I still think I don't think he's at his best, but he's right there. And I think what Fury should do, because I know you're going to ask me that, I think he should make it ugly. Man,
Okay.
I think he should gum up the waters and use that huge body and lean on him and do what he did to Wilder in their second fight and really make it an ugly one and try to lean on him and lean down on him and take his legs away by doing all of those things. He'll probably try. I don't think it'll be successful. So once again, I like Usyk to win the fight.
James, and Dean Lonergan was on before us, Dean, and look, and he said, and it's one of the oldest cliches in boxing, of course, styles make fights. And, you couldn't get two more contrasting styles here, could you?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Although I will say, Fury's a good boxer, especially for a dude that big. He is, Marty, the anomaly that we've never seen anything quite like him in boxing. We've seen big dudes, but not somebody that big who can box and awkward, but makes it work and also has that resiliency that you mentioned, able to get up off the canvas all those times against Wilder. We saw it against Usyk. However, I think that he might now be suffering from something called he's not able to absorb the punches like he once did. Ngannou knocked him down. And Usyk's not a big puncher. He put him down, almost took him out. There comes a time in a fighter's life. It's almost like that cash register. Once it pops open the first time, it'll never be as difficult to open again. So, I think that register has popped open too many times, and that's why I don't discount the possibility of him getting stopped in this fight. Although, again, he's a big, massive dude. And there's a lot of heavyweights. I know you follow the history of boxing. There's a lot of heavyweights that are better than him, but he would have beaten most of them. Fury would have, simply because of his size. He would have beaten most of them.
James, is a third fight on the cards? No.
Well, it probably will be if Fury wins. I didn't even want there, and this is different for me to say, but I didn't even want there to be a rematch because I thought the better guy won. They're both at that tail end, and one of them or both of them are going to fall off the cliff. And I wanted it, I wanted that to be the fight, and the better guy won, at least with my eyes. But if Fury wins, yeah, you know what? We'll get a third fight if Fury wins, and at least that's a good thing that Turk Al-Sheikh and Riyadh Season and Saudi Arabia are making these fights happen. We have another big rematch of Beterbiev and Bivol coming up in February. And these are the kind of fights, Fury, Usyk, Beterbiev, Bivol, that we're taking years to get a rematch if we ever would get them. And so we're getting them because of that money. His Excellency Turk Al-Sheikh is a guy like you with a lot of money.
Yeah, I think there's one fundamental difference between us. It probably is that. Just before we go, we'll get you out on this, mate. JP, Joseph Parker, of course, has got a heavyweight bout himself in Saudi in February against Dubois. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, I would probably favor Dubois. I like Parker. You know what I've said about him. He's an overachiever. He can win. There's nobody out there he can't beat, but he's on that, on the lower version of the top 10, but he's there. And again, every time you mention him to me, and people do in New Zealand, I think of what an overachiever he is. And I always think of David Tua and how David wasn't able to, because I thought David Tua was a better fighter, a more special fighter than Parker, but I like Parker. So we'll see. Hey, he's just so blessed to be making this kind of money, man.
Oh yeah, that's it. Totally. Happy New Year. How does Vegas celebrate, man?
We don't stop.
There you go. Every year is New Year's Eve, right?
Every year. Happy.
Every
I want
day.
to wish you and everybody in New Zealand. I'm coming back. We're going to talk. I'm doing a speaking tour because I'm finally started writing my book. We got to get Smitty back to New Zealand.
We
Man,
do.
the Kiwis love me,
They
especially
love you,
the
man.
women.
It goes without saying. Look at you, dude. Look at you, dude. They're only human.
Happy New Year.
DSPN.
That's our podcasting show for today. Again, if you're liking what you're listening and what you're seeing, then a small favour, if you will. Can you please hit like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend about it. We are a fledgling podcast and show, the DSPN, and we need you. And if you are participating, well, just click that subscribe button. That would help enormously. Thank you so much if you already have. Again, tell a friend if you like. We're doing this every single day, putting out a show every afternoon. The DSPN.
This is the DSPN.